Hi all, welcome to this video on how to create a footer. Now just to get the plain obvious out of the way, the footer is the bit that sits at the bottom. Like this Google page over here, this is the footer because it sits at the foot of the page. So if you've seen the thumbnail to this video, you know already what we're going to create, so let's get cracking. So up here I've created a folder called footer, and within here I'm going to create an index.html, and I'm also going to create a styles.css, and I'm going to go back to the index, and within here exclamation tab, and then in here I'm going to put footer demo just for the hell of it, and link the style sheet, if I can spell it. There we go, and save. Right, in the body I'm just going to put hello for now, save that, and come back to the index, right click and open with live server. Now if you haven't got live server, you need to go to extensions, look for live server, and it'll be this one, install, and you're good to go. Let's get rid of that and close that for now. So live server, let's just change this. There you go, auto refreshes, good. So I'm going to put in the footer tag, because this is where we're going to be working. I am going to put in another div here saying content, just for positioning purposes, so we'll leave that there. So yeah, let's actually footer area. I will make this available on GitHub, so I will note it up. We're gonna create actually a footer. Let's move this because I'm going to call it footer area. We're gonna give a class of footer area like so, and this is where the details of the footer are gonna sit, and below that is where I'm gonna have copyright class. I did with a copyright class, I beg your pardon, and I'm going to put it in here, copy, and then ntw geeksville, save, and there it is. No good up there though, is it? But we'll get to that. So what are we going to have within the footer area? We're going to have 4 columns. So we're going to have column 1. I'm going to just grab this, save a bit of typing, and then change this to 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to hop over to the styles. Now let's get a font. May as well do that now, and I'm going to go to, well, it's already here, but I'm going to show you how to do it properly. Fonts, search, Poppins, there it is, click on it, and here you can plus or minus which styles you want from the font family. Once you've selected them, the main one we're going to be using is regular 400. Click this button up here, and we can scroll down to where you see the styles tag, and then get everything in between there, copy and paste it in there, and now we have that available to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the asterisk as a wildcard to select everything on the page, well, nearly everything, and we're going to set that font family using the rule here, and save, and if you see, the font has changed. Okay, let's get rid of that. And while we're in here, I'm going to remove the default margins, padding, and box sizing is going to be border box. If you don't know what that is, it basically prevents padding within an element resizing the element. Also in here I'm going to put asterisk before and asterisk after, because we are going to be using at least one of those. Save. Right, let's got that out of the way. So I suppose we do need to target the body. Display flex. I know there's not much on the screen, it's not doing much for you at the minute, but bear with. Flex direction column, min height 100, viewport height, else auto hides it, justify content, and I'm going to put center here for a minute so you can see the next bit. So let's do footer. Let's do again display flex, because it has that footer area inside it, you remember, and we want to put that in the center. So align items center, justify content center. I'm going to give this, let's give it a background color so we can see what we're doing. Hashtag 1D1D1D. Save that. There it is. You can probably just about see there's the copyright, but that's rubbish. So let's give it a height. Min height 400 pixels, else height is auto. Doesn't actually mean else, but that's how I like to remember it. Width, I'm going to give 100% of the parent container, and position, we're going to put a relative on this so we can absolute position that copyright text inside with position absolute. Let's give the text some colour actually, that, and a box shadow 0 minus 2 pixels. Don't know what a back shadow is. Let's try that again. 20 blur RGBA, and I'm going to do 000 0.5. Save. Right, you see there's a bit of a shadow there. Okay, so like I said, I'll put this center in the justification, because the justification refers to the vertical alignment, because we're set flex direction to column, if I can get my teeth in. And if you remember, I'll put another element up here of content. So the reason for that is so I can use space between, save, and then it sits at the bottom. There's other ways to do it, there's a million different ways to do this, but that's how I'm doing this. Also, I'm going to move that copyright, and I'm going to say display flex, align center, justify content center, background color. Let me just refer to my notes, because I have give this a color, believe it or not. Yep, it's a really difficult one to remember, to 2C, 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 or not 2C, whatever. Okay, and I'm going to give it a height because we're using flex, so it doesn't really matter. 30 pixels and a width of 100% of the container, like so. Of course, we don't want it sitting in the middle, so this is where position absolute comes in. Position absolute. And where do we want to absolutely position it? Well, from the bottom, 0. Just like that. As Tommy Cooper once said. Okay, moving on. So we've got the footer area and 4 columns. I'm going to zoom out a touch here because so you can see it a little bit better. So here I'm going to note this up. Copyright area, and here let's say general styling, and here I'm going to put footer area. So let's go for that actually. Let's do that. I appreciate there's not much content at the minute, but I want to set it out so you've got a better understanding of what it is I'm doing. I'm gonna therefore I'm gonna firstly tell it what I'm targeting for area, and I'm gonna put a border of 1 pixel solid red around that, which is a little tiny dot in the middle because it has no properties. Say display flex. We're going to do this time flex direction row, because these columns, although they are columns, we want to put in a row next to each other. So we want to align items. In fact, let's give it a width first so we can have got some sort of sense of what we're doing. 70% of the container and a min height of 250 pixels and height of auto in case it needs to increase, and for good measure bottom padding of 50 pixels. So there we go. That's where our columns are going to go, within there. So if we put something in there, let's just say, in fact let's put it in a column, test, and footer area. So let's go back here. This is just to explain what I'm doing. So if we go to align items and we say flex start, not going to see much difference because it's already there, but if we put center, you see that, in fact let's get rid of that other one. Right. You see that it's moved down because the align items now references the vertical because we're using flex direction of row. Now I want all the columns to start at the top, so I'm going to use flex start. If I put it in the right place, of course, like that. There we go. And we're also going to do justify content. Let's put center, see what happens. It goes to the center, but that's not what I want because I've got 4 columns. I want them spaced out, so I'm going to say space between you know what, you're not going to see much right now because you can't see the columns. So let's sort that out. Let's say column 1. In fact, let's go here and say columns. So as you can see, you can have more than one class to an element. Probably knew that already. So we go here and say columns, and I'm going to create a border for this as well. 1 pixel solid purple. Display flex direction column, because they are columns of data. Justify contents, we're going to do flex start for this as well, and align items start as well. We're going to make the height 100%, save, and you won't see anything because I haven't got a width. Didn't really want to give a width, but I'm going to temporarily of 150 pixels, say, and there we go. Let's get rid of this because that's messing everything up. Okay, thought we can give this a min height of 150. And there you can see something. Now the height is going to be dictated by the contents. So we don't really need to give it a height or a width, because that width is going to be different for this column compared to these three. So what I suppose I could do is say column 2, column 3, column 4. That's going to be different to column 1. Let's put a width in there of auto, obviously, because it needs to stretch and whatnot, but we want a min width of 250 pixels. The width here is going to be auto, min width 150. You probably can't see that on your screen, so let's move these over. Okay, you see how it's overflowing out of the box? So we need to give that a min width as well, really. So we've got 3 150s, which is 450, and the 250, so that's 700. So let's give this a min width of 700, like that. And there you go. So it'll never get smaller than 700. Okay, good. We'll obviously take care of the mobile version a bit later on. So that's where our stuff is going to go. So I suppose we could just get on with putting our stuff in here. So what do we want to put in here? Well, I want to put a logo here, and then underneath I want to put some brief about text. It's just going to be dummy text, but put a logo in here, NTW Geeksville, like that. And then underneath we're going to do an about with some lorem. And I don't want that much, so I'm going to say that, like so. Now, column 1. In here, actually, I'm going to say span, and I'm going to separate out the NTW so I can give it a different colour to Geeksville, just to make it look something like a logo, and that'll do for that one. Let's go down to this one. Now, important to note, I'm going to change this to an unordered list because I want these to be unordered lists. It shouldn't affect anything over here because the styling is using the classes. So saved, there we go. And in here we can do a H4 to give it a title of links. And then li times, how many list items should we have? I think I had 6. And they all have anchor tags, like so. And I'm going to put in here hashtags so they don't actually go anywhere. And in here we've got home, about us, services, portfolio, contact, and terms. Save. There we go. So, just for sake of it, I'm going to get rid of these, because if you remember, we don't need them. So the others are just collapsed. That's okay. I'm going to copy this because the next column is very similar, and put a title of other links because I couldn't think of anything else, and blog. What was the other one? Linux. Love Linux. Web dev. It's just random subjects, I know. Figma. Word. Press. Inkscape. And just so it's different number, I'm going to put fonts. There we go. Right, and for the fourth one, I'm going to put address details, but I want the column to be separated into 2. So I have up here address with the heading of address, and down here telephone number with heading of telephone. So let's give them their own containers, but footer address, and under there we'll put footer tel. Within the address we are going to put well, I suppose it's a good idea to put the H4 in, and then underneath we can put list item times 4. Don't need anchor tags because they're not links, and in there we'll put 007 Bond Street. I'm going to put London. This is obviously a made up address. JB1 007 United Kingdom save, and there it is. And for the telephone, H4 telephone, and under there we are going to put a list item, and it is going to have an anchor tag, and in here we're going to put tel 0800 007 007. Please don't phone that. I don't know if it's real or not. I wouldn't imagine it, but you know, 0800 07 07. It's just made up. There we go. So there's the heading, there's the phone number. Not sure why they're different colours, but there you go. Okay, so, and then we've got the copyright down here. So everything is there now. So we can save that and go over to the styling. Right. I am actually going to do some more general styling. So let's go back up here. It's hard to know where to put this actually. I think I might put it in here. Footer area UL. So now I'm targeting these lists. So I'm going to say a list style none to get rid of the bullet points like that, and also padding top of 10 pixels to space them out, but also I want the address lines to line up with these, otherwise it's going to look a little odd. So where are we? Column 4 ULLI fetcher address. So why does it do that? Yeah, see the UL oh, I beg your pardon, schoolboy error. I was thinking I was not dealing with the list, but anyway, the padding is up here, so it's all the same. But when I come to space out these items, I want to do the same with these. So let's do the headings first. Footer area ULH4. What do I want to do here? Well, I want to give it a bit of spacing underneath, so push the contents underneath it away a bit, like that. I want to change the colour so it stands out a bit, like so. And I'm going to do a position of relative for the following reason. I'm going to do footer area ULH4, and I'm going to use the after pseudo selector because I want to put a little underline under the H4s, but not a full width underline, so I'm going to make one. So the H4 after, yeah, if you're using before or after, you have to give it a content of some description, and I just usually do that. And display is a block this time, and you want to give it a height of 2 pixels, width, so they're all the same, 30 pixels, and a border none, because you don't want to add to the thickness of the line, and we're going to give it a background colour of steel blue, and move it down from the H4 a touch by 5 pixels. There you go. Now the position relative, I'm going to say position absolute left 0. And you might have noticed that let's remove that. See that gap? Let's remove this. Watch that gap. It's gone. It's because it's ignoring this element. So you may want to push that down a little bit more. Like that. And this margin top. Does it do anything, you might ask? It still does. So there you go. So I'm going to leave that at 20. And the same has happened here. Now we're going to put a gap in there, so don't worry about that. So now let's get on to the anchor tags. So footer, area, UL, A. Well, really you should put LI in there if you want to be specific. I'm going to display block. I'm going to say text decoration none to remove the underlines like that, and I'm going to give them a colour of 999 like that. Now I'm going to give some padding of 3 pixels top and bottom and 0 left and right like that. And as you see, you probably see what I mean now by this, the address not lining up with these. So we need to reference that as well. So if you go back here, because we're referencing the anchor tags, we want to reference column 4 LI, or we can just do a footer address, but then we'd have to do footer tell as well. So let's do column 4. Let's put that in here, and LI. There we go. So they line up now, so it looks a bit more sensible, if you like. Right. I know it still looks a bit of a mess, but don't worry, we're getting there. So footer, area, UL, LI, A, and hover effect. So when you hover over, this is what's going to happen. The colour is going to change to steel blue, like this, but not to the address because we're only concentrating on the anchor tags. So this one will, and we're going to put padding left of 10 pixels. Save like this. You see how they just pop out? It's a bit rubbish, isn't it? So on here I'm going to put transition on padding 0.2 seconds. So you'll notice I didn't do that in the hover, I did it on the actual element itself. I know it's done it to this as well, but it's relevant. So now they just glide out like that. That's much better. So I think probably we need to, should we finish this one off? Yeah, let's do that. Do we have a column 4 somewhere? I'm sure we did. Where are we? Column 4, hello. Column 1, no, we had a column 1. Okay, let's go column 4, gap, 30 pixels. There you go, simple as that. Because we've got flex on it, that's a flex property gap. So that looks better, methinks. Right, let's sort out the logo. Copyright area. Let's say here, column. It is hard to organise CSS like this when they have so many common properties. That's why I did a general area. Because we're looking at 2, 3 and 4, I can't just say this. Well, you know what I mean. So this is column 1. We're going to say the same as we did with the other one just then. We're going to column 1. The same as we did with column 4. We're going to put a gap of 30 pixels. Okay. And pretty sure we've already give it the width. But let's just move this, put it there, get rid of that. Let's be sensible. So min width, in fact width here is going to be 25%. I've decided 25%. So yeah, I think we can go into here for column 1 logo. So what should we do with that? Do a display inline, because we've got the span element in there to consider. Height 50 pixels and width. Now if you remember, our min width is 250 on that column, so we don't want it to be any bigger than that. We don't want it crammed in, so let's do a width of 240. And I just happen to know the font size that fits in there. Font size is 2 rem. Save. And we want to change the colour. Colour. Do that. There we go. Now then, let us grab column 1 dot logo and the span and change the colour of that to steel blue. Look, a little bit of colour makes it look like a logo. It's a fake logo, but yeah, anyway. So I guess we can go back now and remove these borders, save, and there you go. Let's move this over a bit. And so that's pretty much the footer done here, although it's okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's concentrate on the media queries now. So what am I going to do? I'm going to squash it. In fact, I'm going to do a Control-Shift-M and I'm going to say 1150 like that, and in fact let's make it 1000 like so, and then we can move that over. So if you're wondering what I'm doing, 1000 width is going to be the threshold for the media query. So what do I mean by that? I mean, let's go to the bottom and say responsive styling and say at media, which instructs which basically says this is a media query, please take notice of me. So max width 1000 pixels. So that's saying apply all this styling up to the max width of 1000. Anything over that, ignore me. And the default settings will kick in. So we want to stack these. I mean, you can make it smaller if you want. You can have multiple media queries in here, so you can have one at 1000, one at 600, one at 360 or what have you, but I'm just going to do the one, and I'm going to say I want to give everything within the footer area a gap of 50 pixels. As you can see, that's took effect. And then I want to do the same. I want to grab the footer area and the columns, and I want to do a flex direction column like that. Okay. And just for good measure, let's go to the top. Let's say content goes here. So there you go. You can see that it all works as it should. Let's go back to the styling. So we've got them stacking the right direction. We just need to align them now. Align item center. Like that. So some of them have, some of them haven't. Hang on a minute. Columns. Oh yes, because they're in the here. So let's copy that. Footer address has moved over, but the actual content hasn't moved over to the center. These have, because they're anchor tags, but these aren't, because they're li elements. So anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get on with it. Justify content center. Okie dokie. We do that text align center. So the address is all aligned. Everything's aligned. The underlines aren't aligned. Try saying that 3 times quickly. And we're going to give these a width of 300 pixels. Okay, so logo's a bit near the top, isn't it? Let's get column 1.logo and then do margin top 50 pixels. That's better. What else do we want? H4s look okay. Obviously we want to do something about these underlines, so let's do that. So that's footer area ULLI, no it's not, it's H4, but it's after, isn't it? I need more coffee. Right then, position absolute, position absolute. We've already done that, so we don't need to do it again. What we do need to do is position it. So this time we're going to move it 50% from the left, like that. But as you can see, that 50% refers to the start, to the left start of that block. So we need to put it back 50% of the width of that line. And to do that, transform translate x minus 50%. Translate, I've spelled that wrong. There we go, now they're all in the middle. Now, this hovering, not great, because if you're on a touch device, mobile phone or whatever, that's pretty relevant. So you don't want it doing that when you press it, because you'll be wondering what's happening. So I'm going to remove that. I'm just going to say footer area. How many times have I said that today? Footer area ULA hover. So we're referring to the same thing, same rule we set before, but now we're overriding the padding left, wasn't it? Padding left to 0. Save, and now that still does it. That could be because I haven't put LI in here. This is actually a good example. There you go. It's because I haven't matched the exact path we used before. If we go up here, see we used ULLIA. If I'd have omitted the LI, it would have still worked. It would have still found it, but because this wasn't exactly the same as this, it didn't work. The other one overruled it because it was an exact path. But anyway, let's have a look. This is a bit closer than it should be, so let's do column 4. Say gap 50 pixels. Yep, so now they look pretty much evenly spaced. And I think finally, you'll be pleased to hear, footer area. In fact, we've done a footer area. Don't repeat yourself. Footer area margin bottom of, I think the same, 50 pixels. There we go. So that's nicely spaced. You can increase the size of this if you want, but whatever, yeah. So if we pull this over and we say, right, if I can grab the edge of this, there we go. I've gone over 1,000, so it's gone back to that. If we go under 1,000, it goes to this, and all the links obviously still work and everything. And that's it. Yeah, I know this was a bit of a long video, very sorry, 50 minutes nearly, but hopefully you've learnt something, and like I said, it will be in my GitHub repo, which I'll link down in the description. If you enjoyed this video or learnt anything new, please do like it and consider subscribing. Really appreciate it. And until next time, see you later.